Welcome yogis to our first installment of Intro to Arm Balances and Inversions avec moi, Ellie Bernstein. I'm so excited to be leading this adventure. I feel like teaching people how to invert, how to stand on their hands, and just inversions and arm balances in general. I feel like it's the closest thing that I can do to teach people how to fly. So it's really fun, and I hope that you will participate with like a sense of freedom and zero fear, and we'll kind of work on that together. So that actually brings me to my first point. The props that we're going to use today are a block, and if you don't have a block, you can use anything that's sturdy enough that you can actually stand on. So if you have I would say a box of some type, a wooden box or something where you can feel confident stepping up onto it and it won't break. So a block, and also a blanket. So this is gonna help with the fear factor of our first arm balance that we're gonna work on today. So we're going to get into crow pose or crane. We can kind of work up towards crane. So crow pose in Sanskrit is technically Kakasana. We use it interchangeably with Bakasana, which is crane pose, which is the straight arm variation of crow. But the yoga dork in me honors the yoga dork in you. And Bakasana is crane and Kakasana is crow. But 9 times out of 10, you're gonna hear it Bakasana, so just kind of roll with it. It's all good. So this blanket is primarily going to be used, and you can use any blanket. It doesn't have to be like an official yoga blanket. I mean, grab one off of, your bed or whatever. Pillow is fine too. We're going to be using this as a crash pad landing. So when we start to shift weight forward and find balance on our hands, what can happen is you might fall on your face, and that's not very fun, and it's gonna happen. So we should just get used to it, put it out there. I'll even practice falling with you today on this video, but it's really nice to have something where when you're face planting and you don't have your hands to catch you, like the first few times you do it, you have something soft to land on. So I highly recommend grabbing your crash pad landing for today. Yeah, you can place that at the front of your mat just so that sorry, Oscar, thank you. Just so that when we start to get into it, you'll kind of measure the distance and make sure that if you were, in fact, to fall, that the blanket is placed in the right spot for you. All right, so crow pose is it's the foundational pose for all arm balancing inversions, really. Now, when I say foundational, I don't necessarily mean the easiest. It's actually not the easiest arm balance. I really don't think that that it is. I'm sorry, that was kind of awkward. But there are some other arm balances and inversions out there that I think are actually easier to access. But we're going with crow today because it really is the foundation for everything. So, a couple things first. The locking systems in yoga, the bandhas, there's a bunch of them, but we're only going to touch on 3 today. Uddiyana Bandha, which is the belly button lock. So it's the drawing in and up of the navel. So it's not you're sucking in and you're trying to hollow out your middle and your ribs are puffing out and all this crazy stuff. No, it's just an energetic squeeze in and up of the belly button. The Mula Bandha, which is your pelvic floor. It's the root lock. It's that muscle that, bear with me, if you were peeing and you had to stop yourself, what muscle would you draw up to stop that action, right? It's that's your Mula Bandha, that sucking up action. Sorry, that was gross. Sucking up. All right. So drawing up, we'll say that. Drawing up of the pelvic floor, drawing in of the belly is going to keep your core nice and solid. And then the final piece of the Bandha puzzle is Hasta Bandha. So Hasta meaning hand. It's the hand lock. So you really want to work on spreading the fingers wide and pushing into the finger pads. So it's like you're going to have little spirit fingers on your mat, right? So you're really pushing hard into the floor with the fingertips, And then you're sucking up, there we go again with sucking up. I don't know what my deal is today. Drawing up energy from the middle of the palm up towards the sky. So it's not like a clawing into the mat so much as it's like a energetic push down but pull up or suck up at the same time. So you kind of have this push-pull force of energy happening. And the same thing's happening in your body. So as you're pressing down into the floor, you're energetically hugging up and in. So it's that dichotomy, that oppositional force that's really holding you and balancing you in your tiny little crow package. All right, so one last thing foundationally, before we kind of get into it, having chaturanga arms. So if you're not familiar with chaturanga, it's that low plank that we do in yoga. And actually I'll face this way so you can kind of see what's happening. As you lower down into chaturanga, the elbows are not going to splay out to the side, because then what happens when they splay out to the side is you start to lose all the musculature and the firing of the muscles right here. So you want to hug it in to keep your trunk or your torso nice and solid. So as you would lower down into chaturanga, right, elbows are not going out to the side like a traditional push-up, but rather they're hugging back and in, right? So it's the triceps doing all of that work. So that's the last little bit there. So we're gonna Mula Bandha, pelvic floor, suck up, belly button, right, pulling up and in, Hasta Bandha, spirit fingers into the floor, and then finally you wanna wrap those triceps in and keep the elbows hugging in toward your body. So from there, you're going to just simply place the knees on the backs of the triceps and balance, right? Easy as pie. I'll talk you through it. So make sure you have your crash pad landing. Right, you want this, so if you were to fall, your nose is gonna go into your nice little blanket here. And then basically what you're gonna try to do is bring your knees up and in towards your triceps, or towards your armpits rather, as close as you possibly can. Now, I will say that I'm pretty open in my hamstrings, I'm pretty flexible, so that's not an issue in my body, but for some people, that action of bringing the knees in towards the armpits, it's a little bit less accessible. So what you can do is you can take your block, place it in the middle of the mat, and then simply step up onto the block, and then voila, your knees are going to be a little bit closer to those armpits. They don't necessarily have to be in the armpits, that helps. They can be a little bit further down the triceps, but the higher you can get them, the easier it's going to eventually be for you. So, thinking about all those bandhas, right, pelvic floor, belly button, hand, you're gonna get the knees up and into the armpits as close as you possibly can, and we're just gonna start, so wrap the elbows in, we're just gonna start by shifting the weight forward. Now notice where my gaze is, right? I think we sometimes have a tendency to look down or behind us, so I want you to gaze, look straight out in front to the top of your mat, or maybe even a little bit further. So you can keep your gaze up, and then just feel that hollowing of your belly and rounding of your mid to upper back. So you're actually rounding through your spine. So instead of like a nice straight flat back, it's more of this, right? So instead of this, is this, okay? All right, so starting to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Spread the fingers wide, elbows in, knees up, pelvic floor, belly button, gaze out in front, shift forward. Right, so that's all we're gonna do at first is shift forward. Once you start to feel that weight bearing into the shoulders and get comfortable with it, then we're gonna start lifting the feet up. So we're gonna try one set of toes and then the other, right? So always move into these things slowly. Try not to just, barrel into it. So lift up one set of toes, feel it, put it down. Maybe try the other set of toes, feel it, put it down. Take a little rest. Really important when you're practicing hand balancing, roll out the wrists. Give your wrists some love because they're gonna get sore pretty quickly. So one thing you can do is just kind of interlace the fingers, roll them around in one direction, shake them out, whatever you need to do to kind of stretch out your wrists. So then next step is obviously trying to lift up both sets of toes. So you get all that good stuff happening, Hasta Bandha, elbows in, belly button, pelvic floor, looking forward, one set of toes, and now really push down, pull up, maybe the other set of toes can start to come up. So here we're in crow pose with bent elbows, and if you'd like to move towards crane, you're gonna start to push down to the floor more and straighten the arms out a little bit, right? So you're subtly shifting the whole package of your body forward and up. And that's also when that crash pad landing comes in kind of handy. So that's crow pose in a nutshell. I suggest if that's something where it's not quite clicking yet, keep practicing, keep trying that shift forward, right? And if it's really just not clicking, not integrating into your body, another thing that you can do to just feel out the balance on your hands and start to feel that kind of flying action is to move from malasana or frog pose or garland pose. Lots of different names for poses in yoga, right? So from here, instead of bringing the knees to the backs of the triceps, you would bring the inner thighs to the backs of the triceps. So what you're doing is you're a little bit flatter, you're a little bit lower, so it's not as scary. And it's just easier to find the balance here. But it's all the same principles, right? So fingers, elbows, everything hugging up and in, but you're simply shifting forward so the inner thighs are coming to the backs of the triceps rather than the knees, right? It's a little bit easier to find that variation. Then you can start to work towards triceps coming up and in. And, oh, I did promise you a fall. So what a fall, I think it's important to practice falling. No matter what you're doing, handstands, forearm stands, headstands, but falling safely, we'll talk about that another day. It's just, what's the worst case scenario? You're gonna fucking fall on your face, right? So you have this, it's here, it's set for you. I'm gonna fall for you, make you feel comfortable enough to fall. It's all good, shit happens, we eat it, it's fine, right? So knees, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's the worst thing that can happen. So just get it over with, get it out of the way, fall. You know, your knees can slide, you could buckle at the arms, I don't know, shit happens, just own it, try it, fall, fly, it's all good. Just have fun with it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and have fun, you know? It's all about being as carefree as you can, but at the same time staying focused in your body, staying hugging in, squeezing in, but then also having that moment of like, all right, I'm going for it, and just commit to it. You got this. All right, good luck. Peace out.